Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Now, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at La Marzocco espresso machines and equipment. LaMarzoccoUSA.com. It's where you should go to learn more about all the equipment they produce, especially their espresso machines. Of course, they have the Swan grinder. That's an amazing grinder. You need to check that out there. But also, of course, the cornerstone of the coffee bar, the espresso machine. And whether you've worked on the Linea Classic or the Linea PB, one of my personal favorites, the KB90 with the straight-in locking portafilters and the scales and the drip tray, or the Leva, where you're pulling a shot of espresso literally. There's all sorts of configurations for espresso machines that they have designed for your style and functionality. So beauty, dependability, innovation. These are things that they have been known for nearly 100 years. So check them out, LaMarzoccoUSA.com, and also go ahead and email info@LaMarzoccoUSA.com. Their sales folks are great. They will help you get the machine you need. Now, we are also sponsored today by our friends at Rattleware.com. So you got that espresso machine, right? Now you need the tools to make coffee, right? You've got all sorts of little small wares that have to work while you work. And the big part that we don't really talk about very much is when little things build up in our mind. You know, the small wares that don't work very well, it's a big deal. So Rattleware.com is where you should go. This company, Rattleware, has been here for a long time. They've been supporting the coffee industry behind the scenes so that you can shine in front of the customer with your product, with your hospitality. That's the way they like it. So whether you're talking about whisks or shot glasses or knock boxes and so forth, go to their website and see what they have to offer when you are looking to upgrade and stock your coffee bar with small wares at rattleware.com. Now, today's episode is a little bit of an exploration of knowledge. We've had a episode in the past called Organizational Self-Knowledge. Okay, so the idea is, how well do you know yourself? So when I ask the question, how well do you know your business? Really, what I'm asking is, how well do you know your baristas? Now, I'm not talking about their preference for Midwest emo or opera or whatever. You know, I'm talking about, like, do you know how well they are doing on the bar right now? So, in a little bit, I'll be at Coffee Fest. In fact, this Shift Break episode is airing probably the day before Coffee Fest Orlando. And in that show, I'm going to ask people, likely, it's 5:00. Do you know where your barista is? Or do you know how their Americano is? Do you know how their cappuccino is? Do you know every staff member's challenges, their strengths, their areas that they need coaching in? Are you able to really know your business? Because let's face it, your business is the people. Your customers rely on your staff to be very, very good at the thing that they want the most. They order a certain set of drinks on average the most, like whatever that top 1/4 of your menu is that everyone always orders. You could say, well, I think because people are ordering this so much that we're doing great, because these customers, they just keep buying it. And that means we're doing good. Yes and no, because people will buy against their better judgment things that are convenient for them. So we can't trust no news is good news, where because nobody's complaining, people keep buying it. So I am led to believe that it is great. And what that whole reasoning is how can I get out of actually verifying that that's true? I'm not saying you're saying this explicitly, but I think behind the scenes, we're like, I'm busy. If I don't have to look into it, I won't. If it's working well, great, because there's other stuff that's not. But you can't afford to not know. If you can't tell me how a few of your baristas are making mochas, or that lives somewhere in a documented format in your business where Eric is making, sorry to Erics out there, Americanos, but he's making it the wrong way. He's putting hot water on top of the espresso, which, by the way, I hate. I don't like that. I like the espresso on top of the hot water. And I don't like the hot water very hot, But anyway, point is, he's not making it the way we want him to make it, but we would never have known that had we not talked to or observed and been training and in relationship with and operated with curiosity and frequent touch points around the core skills of his job as a part of the way we do business, to know our business. So if you can't say how each barista on the bar makes each beverage, what their strengths are, what their areas of challenge are, and what you are doing to both reinforce the strengths and fix the things that are challenging, then it's hard to say that you actually know your business, because that's the foundational element of your business. And so the fix here is to always be curious, trust but verify, to go into detail with your staff to make sure that they're doing things as well as they possibly can. It's not just drinks, it's also hospitality. Do we know that people are giving good service? And do we only rely on second, third, fourth hand information about service? Again, no news is good news, right? So we're always shocked. Oh, we're so shocked that the baristas are giving bad service. If you get a 1-star Yelp review and somebody says, the baristas there are always rude, you're going to think, that's not true. These are sweethearts. I know them. I know the music they like, and they're quirky and fun. Gosh darn it. And you know, you're going to go to their defense. And you know what? You should be on your barista's side. And you should not, you know, you're going to get defensive. I think you should default to support your staff. Now, support your staff against the truth. Now, you only could do that if you knew the truth to begin with. But if you've decided that you're just going to not know, and anytime anybody who ends up experiencing something that you don't want to believe is happening, you just jump down their throat and say, that's impossible because these people are great and we're really good at hospitality, then you're never going to get better. It's more likely you're wrong, because the customer who experiences the hospitality is not nearly as distracted as you are in observing the hospitality that they're receiving. They're the ones who are actually focused on it. We're not. Now, that's why I say you should know that they're giving good hospitality. Now you can really say that's not true. Now, it sounds so bizarre to me because I know this person so well and they're always so this. Now, when you say they're always this, do you mean that one time you saw them in the last month? Or do you mean based on the robust system of checks and, meetings and trainings and relationship and the layers of accountability that you know? So that's the question, is how well do you know your business? And by the way, you can't justly reward people for great work with generalities. You can't just say, high five, good job, seems like you're doing great. Here's some more money. Most likely, if you don't know how well people are doing, you're not going to be as likely to give them a raise, are you? Half of the people that don't get raises that do deserve them are not getting them because people aren't seeing the good work they're doing. And also, by the way, half of the people who are getting raises who don't deserve the raise, they also are kind of grateful for the lack of eyeballs on their work. So the answer is, let's know. Let's get in there and see. Know what your baristas are doing with hospitality, with drink building, with cleaning. How well do you know them? Stop studying coffee. I drink it, but if you've neglected these areas and you're tempted to read a book about coffee and you're tempted to, binge podcasts about coffee, maybe it's this one, maybe it's somebody else talking about new discovery about, magnesium levels of something, or, new processing methods. Look, that's interesting, but there's a huge elephant in the room, and it's this lack of knowledge of what's actually going on in your cafe. Once you've been able to know, that stuff is great, but we need to, really focus on these basics. So how well do you know your staff? Let's get to know them better. And that's going to create a better environment for everybody, in my opinion. So that's what I've got to share with you, everybody. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on the show. And as always, I'll see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.